All right, anyway, I do think it is actually about time. Let's get into this then, because I've got to do a bit of a speedrun. We're doing a raid speedrun today, so now we're going to do a raid speedrun of these patch notes. Let's go. So, this honestly is the big one. The catalyst stuff is very cool, but the real big stuff is this exposed change. The exposed effect is applied for a small duration after a creature's defense bar is broken and causes the creature to take additional damage for a short duration. Previously, there was no consistent duration for exposed. We're standardizing its applied duration to 10 seconds, which is longer than the previous duration. Now, notice here, guys. So basically, this means when you break a defense bar, you get way more damage, right? As we just said. But notice this. This is not the stun duration. Okay, it's not the stun duration. This is the extra damage duration. When you break a bar, you get two little effects that pop up. You get a stun, and you get this kind of negative icon here as well. That's the extra damage taken. So this is only affecting the extra damage. So the stun, the creature's not going to be stunned for 10 seconds. That would be ridiculous, right? In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually, over time, look to reduce that duration. Because there are some situations where the defiance bars are pretty insane and just break the thing and just make it stun forever. Also, bonus beam, they're not making this change to Sue 1 either because they're keeping that probably at 30 seconds. And that's not even the bombshell. Here's the bombshell. Right now, guys, exposed, 30% more power damage, 100% more Condi damage, okay? Absolutely broken, makes a lot of encounters, particularly in Fractals, a total joke because they have relatively low hit points and you have a lot of burst damage with Condi and power these days. So yeah, it was ridiculous. This changed the 100% extra damage on Condi. It basically made Condi dominate the meta completely, particularly in pug groups, where it's harder to get value out of power anyway, right? It was an insane change. However, now what's happening here? Exposed will now cause 10% increased damage from strikes and 20% from conditions over its longer duration of 10 seconds. So bear in mind, it's got a longer duration, so even though it's going down to 10%, it will kind of end up being mathematically not as much of a nerf as it seems, right? Notice that. But this is obviously a huge reduction in burst damage, right? When you're dealing with particularly Fractals and also dungeons. And look, I'm just going to say it. I'm cutting to the chase here. This is actually a good change, right? I understand that players have kind of got used to this idea that Fractal bosses are literal golems that don't fight back whatsoever, but this isn't healthy for the game, guys. I'm sorry. It's really, really unhealthy. And the fact that we now have this is going to be a big step up. I also think it allows them to balance the game a little bit better. Because when exposed was like really, really OP, it makes it very difficult to balance the game because burst damage becomes so dominant that anything that can't burst is basically not good, right? So making it less bursty, but still technical, right, is good. And what do I mean by technical? Well, what I mean is if you're in a group situation, you're kind of optimizing your run, you're still going to want to make sure you line up the exposed with your burst, right? Because 10% is 10%. That's a big deal. It's a huge, big deal there. Same with condition damage. So I think you still have that element of, oh, this is why we want to break the bar. Here, we want to do it here. You can use it to interrupt certain skills, skip a phase, right? Or, you know, accelerate a phase at least and deal with a very scary attack, right? So you still have this element of strategy and unpacking the fight. However, it just makes it less game-breaking. Now, I actually do have a few concerns with this. I think this actually makes Fractals a lot harder. Now, bear in mind, Fractals already got significantly harder with the nerf to Epidemic and the nerf to Aegis application on Firebrand. This is actually arguably even more significant because, seriously, bosses do nothing, right? In the current situation, they are completely trivialized by breaking Defiance bars. They just turn into golems. This is basically true on Tier 4 Fractals, and it's honestly true on a lot of challenge modes. I'm not gonna lie, guys. Like the challenge modes just get broken, just busted by this by Defiance, right? They just turn into golems. So this makes it a lot harder. And it will be very interesting to see if the player base is going to be able to adapt, because this has been in the game for a long time, right? A very long time. So if the player base is struggling with this, I think that's something that Arena actually need to think about, right? Accessibility is a big deal, and they may need to adjust the balance of the game or even the balance of the encounters to compensate for the fact that the encounters are essentially all getting buffed. Every single encounter in the game that has this Defiance bar mechanic with exposed is getting harder now. And that actually applies to dungeons too, which is fun. Dungeons are now going to be significant. You know, in a way, this affects dungeons more than Fractals because dungeons are very burst-oriented, right? So you just nuke them immediately with Defiance Bars. That will be, to be honest, you can probably still do it because dungeon bosses really don't have that much health. But it certainly does make it, you know, you're going to have to be a little bit more careful about it to actually execute this correctly, which is pretty interesting stuff. But yeah, this is a good change, right? Okay, I know that some people aren't going to like this, and I actually do respect the concerns there. A lot of the fractal scene, particularly the high-end fractal scene, are very used to this kind of speedrun style gameplay. This definitely moves fractals more towards strike missions and raids, where they are legitimate encounters where you aren't looking to skip mechanics, you're going to have to actually do mechanics. Personally, I like that, but I do understand that some people won't like that, right? And that is unfortunate, right? Hopefully, you know, ArenaNet can add things to the game that will make the high-end fractal scene enjoy the game, right? And find some ways to kind of still enable this very technical, burst-oriented playstyle. I think actually looking at power builds and making power builds a little bit better, actually, particularly when it comes to hybridizing, such that power builds can apply boons at a slightly lower opportunity cost compared to Condi builds, because Condi builds can do this really easily, right? Because you don't have as many stats you need to worry about, right? You can do stuff like Celestial, it doesn't really screw you over that much, and you can still play Condi. You can take stuff like Ritualist gear, and you don't really lose that much damage. You can have this kind of sustained boon application, whereas power builds struggle with this. Diviner is not like a mega damage set. It's very much like a support set in a way, and I think that power builds probably need a little bit of love to make sure that they're actually able to kind of survive these sustained encounters a little bit better, because I mean, for the history of Guild Wars 2, power has just like one-shot everything, and that's the way the game is played. But yeah, there you go. Exposed change. Boom. The game is actually becoming less cheesy, okay? Cameron's like, you know what, dude? No more cheese, okay? I'm lactose intolerant. The cheese is done. I'm done with it. Get rid of it, okay? No skipping mechanics in strike missions. No skipping mechanics in raids. And now Cameron says no skipping mechanics in fractals. Oh, yeah. Although, having said that, I don't know if Cameron did this. I'm just assuming this is the case because he's the fractal guy. But it could be more... Well, it seems to be more of a game-wide change anyway, so maybe not. But I think it's funny if he did it. Okay, anyway, let's move on. Elementalist, and here is the big one. We're buffing Ellie, and funnily enough, what they're kind of doing, they're going over some of the issues here, and I won't bore you with the details. Basically, Catalyst is hard to play, the orb passive effects on Hammer 3 don't feel that good, and it's weird because of hitbox scaling. So what they've done here, let's just cut to the chase. What they've done is they have made the weapon skills way better on Hammer. Specifically, the first and second skills, so the auto attacks are better, and the second attack is better as well. And they also made the icy thing, the icy augment, Shattering Ice Utility, more consistent by buffing its damage and making its interval 1 second. So you don't have to, like, mega proc it, right, to actually get value out of it. It's much easier to get value out of it. And they also reverted. This change was really weird, actually. I actually expected them to revert this, by the way, guys. I think, you know, they did this with PvP. They randomly like made this go from 50%, 100% effectiveness, so basically doubled your elemental empowerment, down to 50% last patch. Now they just put it back, right? Because they just nerfed the DPS build for absolutely no reason, basically. Even though they wanted to basically distinguish the buffing build from the DPS build, but they're like, you know what? What if we just nerf the DPS build as well? Hooray. Now they've unnerfed it, and this will probably put Catalyst in a pretty solid spot for DPS. You can see here, they're actually significantly increasing some of the passive buffs here. So in other words, you have 5 seconds to 15 seconds. These are little orbs, by the way, guys. These are the orb things, and their durations are going from 5 to 15 seconds. So basically, this makes it way easier to play because you don't have to juggle these orbs quite as easily. You get a lot of cool particle effects from that as well, guys, right? Yeah, and you're fucking tanky, by the way. Check this out. So look at the Rocky Loop. You get 15% damage reduction in PvE while you have the Rock Loop up. That's actually really nice. Okay, that's good. 15% high uptime damage reduction. Ooh, that's fucking tasty, right? You get 15% more power damage from Flame Wheel. Oh, sorry, 10% more power damage for 15 seconds. Oh, yeah, that's goddamn tasty, right? All of these changes combined make this significantly easier to play. And also, you're going to get more damage. They have actually nerfed the damage of all the orbs. They basically moved the damage of the orbs into the grand finale, it looks like, or at least kind of moved it a little bit, right? You can see that they buffed the pew, 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 pew. So you charge them all up, then you pew, pew, pew out, right? And you get loads of damage. And bear in mind, you can maintain these loops for a long time, guys. You can really go on this. Because bear in mind, every time you refresh one of these loops, it resets the cooldown on all of them, right? So you can actually chain these together for like an insanely long time, which is pretty cool. And I think the order in which you do that's going to be really interesting as well. You can even have a bit of an adaptive rotation in a sense here, particularly seeing as they made the auto attacks and the second skills a lot better. This is kind of fun for Catalyst here. Yeah, this is like a minute of chaining. You can definitely get this like permanently up, which is really nice. It's very, very tasty here. Very, very fun for Catalyst. It's going to be a cool mini game. I think this is going to make the spec fun, to be honest. It does really change the way you're going to play it. It's going to streamline the rotation down a lot. And I know that a lot of Ellie mains, they love that hyper complexity, and this definitely makes the spec easier to play flat out. But hey, you do more damage now. You're also tankier now. And it's easier to get value, and you're not hitbox dependent, right? Because you don't have to worry about your giant orbs, because the orbs don't do damage. Now it's all in the passive buffs you get, and it's in the grand finale. That's where the DPS is coming from here. And actually using your skills, right? Like actually using your abilities. So yeah, I think these are some very solid changes. And I've got to say, I think this is pretty exciting for Catalyst. Just the fact that the damage kind of across the board is going to go up, including the buff builds, by the way, because they're buffing the weapon, right? They are buffing the weapon here. Okay, and that means that this affects the boon build and also the full DPS build, because it's the core thing, not the traits or anything like this. This is pretty exciting. I just dropped my phone on the floor. That's how excited I am. Okay, but I think that Catalyst might have a really interesting role as this kind of niche boon DPS hybrid. And hey, I think I'm definitely gonna be trying that out, because this one seems like a lot of fun and could be very high value. It's like, imagine if Herald had quickness. That's kind of what Catalyst is right now, in my opinion. And that's good, by the way, because Boon Herald was really nice before it got gutted by EOD. Oh no. Oh no. But don't worry, we've got Catalyst now, and we've got quickness, and like every single boon in the game. And you know what's really cool about this, guys? Yeah, that's right. This actually really synergizes well with Heal Scourge, and anything that synergizes well with Heal Scourge is amazing. And it synergizes really well with Heal Scourge because basically it applies the defensive boons without being a healer. So you have Prot, you have Vigor, you have Fury, right? You have Might, right? You have Resolution, you have Resistance, right? It has that defensive suite of boons without basically sacking loads of damage, right? You can still do DPS while doing this. And that kind of brings Heal Scourge online, and look, anything that brings Heal Scourge online, I mean, how bad can it be, okay? How bad can it possibly be if you can play Heal Scourge with it? So this is a really exciting build, I think. I think the only thing it doesn't have is Swiftness. But, I mean, Swiftness is pretty easy to get, so you'll probably just have some of that just, like, spewing about the place anyway. Yeah, I don't think it does anyway. No, you'd have to take Arcane for that, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. But anyway, there you go. Every support build gets charted by Heal Mech. Well, more on that on Tuesday, I guess, when the tier lists start coming out. But yeah, that's all these changes. I think this is some really good stuff for Catalyst. Overall, it will make it a lot more accessible and increase the play rate while also making it better. And Expose is also good as well. This is very exciting. I think we're going to have to try and get some Fractal competitions, right? Okay, Fractal competitions going, I think, to see what we can make happen here and see what this actually does. Like, I'm going to have to try Fractals again. I haven't really played them for a long time, but I'm definitely going to have a go just to see what this actually looks like. What does this make Fractals look like? Now, you know, it's exciting stuff. It's very, very exciting stuff here. The game is changing, and I'm happy that ArenaNet is willing to make big, sweeping changes, right? You know, they've been criticized a lot for not changing stuff, for the game staying static, and, well, that's certainly not the case anymore. They're definitely going for it, and look, I love to see that. I love to see that indeed. Good stuff here as well, although, you know, a moment of silence, please, for the Fractal speedrunners, because yeah, this probably isn't their favorite change in the universe, and we should listen to them because those are the players who actually play the game, right? Like, they play the game now, so their opinion matters, right? And you got to watch out for it getting a little bit harder too. But anyway, that's it. That's it. Analysis done. Good changes, and man, I'm hyped for what's coming on Tuesday. Because bear in mind, we are not done. This is just like looks like the PvE changes. It looks like Expose is happening in in PvE only, not PvP or World versus World. Okay. Actually, wait, no. It looks like Exposed might be happening everywhere, actually, in the entire game. It looks like just the Catalyst changes are just PvE, and we're getting a good batch of changes for PvP and World Boss War on Tuesday. So we're not even done. Like, we're not even done, guys. This is going to get wild. This is going to get crazy. But anyway, there you go. Huge! Incredible gameplay. Big Spice is inbound.